I was pushed to sit by myself at my sister's wedding, away from everyone. Suddenly, a stranger leaned close and whispered, "Pretend you're with me." When I did, my sister's jaw nearly hit the floor. "I'm Hannah. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the moment I stepped into this opulent hall, my navy dress hugging my frame, carefully chosen to make me feel confident. I'd spent weeks picking it out, imagining it would shield me from the judgment I knew was coming. Lydia and I were never close, our relationship a battlefield of subtle jabs and unspoken rivalries, but her engagement to Richard, a polished investment banker from a wealthy family, turned her into a one-woman crusade to remind me of my failures. "Maybe try dating apps again, Hannah," she'd say at family dinners, her voice coated in false concern, her eyes glinting with something sharper. "You can't be picky forever. Time's running out." Our mother, Diane, would nod, her sympathy a thin veil over agreement, while Dad, Adam, fumbled to change the subject. Lydia reveled in it, as if my single status was a trophy she could polish to make her own happiness shine brighter. The morning of her wedding, she called me, her voice dripping with that same condescension. "Hannah, honey, I know today might be tough for you, seeing everyone so happy and in love. Just don't look too miserable in the photos, okay? And please don't spend the night chatting up the bartender like at Joanne's wedding." Her words stung, a warning shot that set the tone for the evening. I should have known then what she had planned. When I arrived at the reception, the air thick with the scent of roses and champagne, Lydia's maid of honor, Marion, greeted me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, Hannah, let me show you to your table," she said, clipboard in hand, her tone as saccharine as Lydia's. She led me to table 12, a sad little island near the kitchen, where the clinking of trays and the hiss of steam were my dinner companions. My table mates? Lydia's single co-workers who barely glanced at me, and Great Aunt Janet, who spent the evening grumbling about the music and asking if I'd considered lowering my standards. I sat there, the weight of their indifference pressing against my chest, wondering how I'd become the family disappointment. The real humiliation came during the family introductions. The reception was alive with laughter and clinking glasses when Lydia grabbed my arm and dragged me toward a group of Richard's relatives, sophisticated, moneyed people who eyed me like a curiosity. "This is my sister Hannah," she announced, her arm slung around Richard's shoulders like a claim. Our little career woman, still focusing on work instead of finding someone special. The words landed like a slap, and I felt heat crawl up my neck, my cheeks burning under their polite smiles. Mrs. Wellington, Richard's aunt, patted my arm with a manicured hand. "Oh dear, don't worry. There's someone for everyone. Have you tried church groups? My nephew met his wife at a prayer circle." Lydia's laugh was sharp, a blade disguised as mirth. "Hannah's very independent." "Aren't you, sis?" She made the word sound like a diagnosis, something to be pitied. I wanted to disappear, to melt into the polished floorboards and escape the pitying gazes. For the next hour, it was a parade of unsolicited advice. Richard's business partner, Joseph, suggested I lower my expectations. A family friend, Christopher, shared the tale of his spinster aunt who found love at 50 with a widower and his 6 kids. Even the photographer seemed in on it, asking if I had a +1 and looking baffled when I said no. Each conversation felt like a script Lydia had handed out, a coordinated effort to make me feel small, insignificant, a cautionary tale in a navy dress. The breaking point was the bouquet toss. "All the single ladies to the dance floor," the DJ boomed, his enthusiasm a mockery. I tried to hide behind a marble pillar, my heart pounding with dread, but Marion spotted me. "Come on, Hannah, this could be your lucky day," she chirped, pulling me into a circle of Richard's giggling 20-something cousins. I felt ancient among them, their youth a stark contrast to my 32 years. Lydia locked eyes with me, smirked, and tossed the bouquet in the opposite direction. It landed in the hands of Chloe, a 24-year-old cousin, and the crowd erupted in cheers. "Looks like Hannah will have to wait a little longer," Lydia called out, her voice carrying over the music. The laughter that followed was like shards of glass against my skin. I saw the pity in their eyes, the relief that it wasn't them being paraded as the lonely one. I retreated to table 12, my vision blurring with tears I refused to let fall. Rage and shame churned inside me, a storm I could barely contain. This was supposed to be a celebration, but Lydia had turned it into a public execution of my self-esteem. I was reaching for my purse, ready to flee before she could see me break, when a deep voice cut through the noise. "Act like you're with me." I turned, startled, to find a man in a charcoal suit that fit him like it was made for him, and it probably was. He was tall, 6'2" at least, with dark hair and a presence that commanded attention. His eyes were kind but resolute, and there was something magnetic about him, like he belonged in every room he entered. "Excuse me?" I whispered, my voice shaky. He slid into the chair beside me, his movements fluid, confident. "Your sister just spent 10 minutes telling my business associate how worried she is about you being alone," he said, his tone low but firm. "I'm guessing you didn't ask her to share your personal life with strangers." I glanced across the room and saw Lydia gesturing in my direction, no doubt spinning her narrative of my sad, single existence to Richard's colleagues. "You don't mind, do you?" he asked, but his eyes said he was already all in. I shook my head, too stunned to speak. For the first time that night, I didn't feel invisible. "I'm William," he said, extending his hand with a warm smile. "Richard's cousin from Boston. And you're Hannah, the sister who apparently needs saving from eternal spinsterhood." I laughed, a real laugh, despite the ache in my chest. "That's me. The family charity case." "Not anymore," he said, his smile mischievous, reassuring. He draped his arm across the back of my chair, leaning in like we'd known each other forever. Heads turned. Lydia, mid-conversation with the wedding planner, did a double-take, her smile faltering. I felt a spark of triumph, small but growing. "Hannah!" Lydia's voice cut through the crowd, an octave higher than usual, her train trailing behind her like a weapon. "I didn't know you knew William." "Old friends," William said smoothly, his hand brushing mine on the table. "Lost touch for a while, but you know how these things go." Lydia's eyes narrowed, her composure cracking. "Really? Hannah never mentioned you." "I keep my private life private," I said, finding my voice, a thread of confidence weaving through me. "You know how I am about work-life balance." The irony wasn't lost on me or her. She'd spent the evening broadcasting my loneliness, and now she was fishing for details about a relationship that didn't exist. "How wonderful," she said, her tone anything but. "How long have you two been reconnecting?" "Long enough," William replied, his smile enigmatic. As she walked away, clearly frustrated, he leaned in and whispered, "She looks like she just bit into a lemon." I smiled, the weight on my chest lifting. She's not used to me upstaging her. For the next hour, William was perfection. He brought me drinks, laughed at my jokes, and touched my hand just enough to sell our charade. But it was more than that. He listened. He asked about my marketing job, my love for hiking, my trip to Ireland. I felt seen, not as the sad single sister, but as Hannah, a woman with stories and passions. "You're not what I expected," he said during a quiet moment, his eyes searching mine. "Based on your sister's description, someone desperate and pathetic. Instead, you're intelligent, funny, and—" "I can't figure out why you're single, because I have standards," I said. The phrase, words slipping out before I could stop them. He laughed, a warm sound that loosened something inside me. Lydia was staring now, whispering to Marion, who kept glancing at us with curiosity. Richard's family, who'd pitied me earlier, now eyed William with approval, clearly recognizing his status. The revenge was sweeter than I'd imagined, a quiet rebellion against every jab and pitying glance. But William wasn't done. When the band played a slow song, he stood and offered his hand. "Dance with me," he said, not asking. On the dance floor, his hand on my waist, mine on his shoulder, I felt the weight of every guest's stare. But instead of exposed, I felt protected. William moved with a natural rhythm, like he'd been trained for this, and being in his arms felt right. "Your sister's watching," he murmured. "She looks like she's going to explode." "Mission accomplished," I whispered back, my heart racing. Then Lydia made her move. "Mind if I cut in?" she said, appearing with Richard in tow, her smile tight. "Actually, yes," William said, polite but firm. "We're having a moment." Her face cycled through shock, anger, and forced brightness. "I just wanted to say how happy I am that Hannah finally found someone. We were all so worried." "Were you?" William's tone was neutral, but his eyes were sharp. "Because it seems you've been more interested in broadcasting her single status than supporting her." Lydia faltered, Richard shifting uncomfortably beside her. "We just want what's best for Hannah," she stammered. "Then maybe treat her with the respect she deserves instead of using her love life as entertainment," William said calmly. I'd never seen Lydia so rattled, her perfect wedding facade crumbling. For the first time, she looked small. As they walked away, Lydia whispering frantically to Marion, William and I kept dancing. That felt really good, I admitted. "We're not done yet," he said, his smile making my heart skip. For the rest of the evening, he stayed by my side. When dinner was served, he requested we be moved to a better table, citing dietary restrictions. The staff, aware of his connection to Richard's family, complied, placing us front and center. Lydia's friends, who'd ignored me, now wanted to chat. Mrs. Wellington, who'd suggested church groups, now gushed about William's Harvard MBA and tech empire. "Hannah, you dark horse," she said, her tone warm with admiration. The final act came during the garter toss. William stepped forward as Richard prepared to throw, and Lydia called out, "William, you're not single." He looked at me, then at her, with a mysterious smile. "Actually, I am. Hannah and I are taking things slow, getting reacquainted." The garter landed in his hands and the crowd roared. Tradition demanded he place it on the bouquet catcher's leg, but Chloe had left early. "We need a volunteer," the DJ announced. William's eyes met mine, a question in them. I nodded. As he knelt before me, sliding the garter onto my leg with a gentleness that felt real, the crowd cheered. Lydia's face was a mask of fury, her spotlight stolen by the sister she'd tried to humiliate. As the night ended, William walked me to my car, the parking lot quiet under the stars. "Thank you," I said, my voice thick. "I know it was just an act, but you saved me from the worst night of my life." "What makes you think it was just an act?" he asked, stepping closer. My heart stopped. "Because you don't know me." "I know enough," he said. "You're kind, even when people don't deserve it. You're strong, enduring tonight without breaking. You're beautiful inside and out, and your sister's an idiot for not seeing how lucky she is to have you." Tears welled, but not from shame. He handed me his card, his personal number scrawled on the back. "If you want to see me again, not for revenge, just because you want to call me." "What if I want to call you tonight?" I asked, trembling. He smiled. "Then I'll answer." 3 months later, we were dating. 6 months after that, we moved in together. A year after Lydia's wedding, he proposed in the same hotel where we met. Lydia's reaction to our engagement was priceless, her years of making me feel inadequate now overshadowed by my joy with a man who adored me, from a family even wealthier than Richard's. But the real revenge wasn't in proving her wrong. It was in realizing I didn't need her validation. William's respect showed me my worth, and I'd never settle for less again. Our wedding was smaller, joyful, a celebration of love, not competition. Lydia, my maid of honor despite our history, gave a speech about how she always knew I'd find someone. I didn't care. I had William, who saw me from the start. Lydia's cruelty that night, meant to break me, led me to him. In trying to prove I was unlovable, she delivered me to the love of my life. The universe has a sense of humor, and sometimes it leads to happiness ever after.